Hi, I am a little bit nervous to start this video. The idea has been rattling around in my little brain for a while, but now that I'm actually sitting down here to start it, I'm quite scared. Because apparently I'm just scared of everything. Since you clicked on this video, I'm assuming that you saw the thumbnail or the title, so you know that I'm going to be reading some of the books that I am the most terrified to read. You may have seen my recent video where I talked about all the books that I'm scared to read. Spoiler alert, there are a lot and a lot of different reasons why I'm afraid of different books. And I have ambitiously picked 4 books to try and read in this video. It might not look like it, but this is a lot of pages, so I'm really scared and I don't know how long this is going to take me. But it's time to finally push myself and read these books because I know that being scared to read books is really silly. I bought all of these books because I want to read them and I think I will like them, so I just need to read them. I know that if I didn't include this book, I would be disappointing quite a few of you. This is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and I have had this book on my TBR for entirely too long, and I have talked about it many times on my channel. For some reason, I feel like this has the potential to be my favorite book of all time, but because I've been saying that for years, I feel like it has no room but to disappoint me. So for that reason, I've been putting it off, but I knew that this had to be one of the ones that I read in this video. I think it's about time that I finally read Magnolia Parks. Not too many people commented about this one. Those who did pretty much just said that the first book might not be amazing, and that it really picks up in the second book, which makes me a little bit nervous, but I really want to get to this one. So even though not many people talked about it, I decided that it had to be in this video. Then we have Babel by R.F. Kuang, which has also been sitting on my TBR for so long. And lastly, I just could not do this video without reading The Nightingale. This and Babel are definitely tied for the books that I'm the most scared to read, but also, like I mentioned in that video, this is my mom's all-time favorite book and she has been begging me to read it for so long. So I'm really doing this one for her. And because I'm maybe insane, I have decided to start with this one, which now that it's in my hands, I feel like is a mistake because this book is huge. It is close to 600 pages. I feel like that's probably not a good choice, but you know what? I'm gonna stick with it. I thought, why not get the longest one out of the way? And I feel like this one is just the most universally loved book. So even though I'm scared, I definitely think I'm going to like it. I am going into this one pretty blind. All I know is that it is a historical fiction that takes place in France during World War II. Yeah, it's about 2 sisters who are living in France during World War II, and France is obviously occupied by Germany. And from everything I've seen about this book and just all of Kristen Hanna's writing, this is going to be very emotionally hard-hitting. I typically avoid sad books just because that's not really my thing. I don't really like to be sad. That was stupid. Obviously nobody likes to be sad, but some people like to read sad books and just feel all the emotions. And to be honest, I actually just haven't read anything very sad yet, so maybe it will be my thing, but I just feel like, why would I want to read a book that's gonna make me really sad? But maybe this will change me. My mom might not be awake right now, but I'm going to send her a picture because I know she's gonna be very excited. Almost every time we talk about books, she's like, when are you gonna read The Nightingale? She's actually awake and she responded, this is all I get? That feels very anticlimactic. Light is really bright. It's 7:45 the next morning and I'm actually in the middle of a tropical storm. So I currently have no power, so I can't work from home and it's insane outside, so I'm not gonna be driving anywhere. But I'm already awake, so what's a girl got to do besides read? I don't know. So I'm thinking that until the power goes back on, I will be reading. I only got to page 25 last night, which was chapter 4. So I'm gonna turn off that big light and I've got my 2 little smoko buddies. Sounds pretty spooky out there. I would film a quick update because I finished The Nightingale this morning. Pretty much as soon as I woke up, I spent like 2 hours just finishing the last like 120 pages or so. I don't know how good of a job I did of explaining the plot when I first started the book, so I will just quickly fill you in case I didn't do that earlier. The story takes place over the course of the 1940s in France, and the story follows 2 sisters, Isabelle and Vianne, I think is how you say it. And since the end of World War I, their family just isn't close. The sisters are physically separated. Vianne is married, she has a daughter, and she lives in a small town, whereas Isabelle, I think, is still living in these kind of like boarding schools or homes for like troubled young girls. And over the course of the book, we basically see the effects of World War II on the sisters and everyone around them. They are both living in Nazi-occupied France, which, if you can imagine, was a horrible place to be. We see just how horrible the living conditions were. You're following along to see what happens with the relationship between the two sisters, and also, I guess, seeing them come to terms with how much they're willing to stand up for what they believe in. As I'm sure you can tell, it's definitely a very heavy book. I would not recommend going into this if you are looking for a happy story or you're just not emotionally ready to just read about a lot of people suffering. There were definitely a lot of parts of this that were really rough. I mean, I don't think anybody is picking up a book about World War II assuming it's gonna be happy, but you know, I feel like I had to throw that out there. With all that being said, I've been sitting here for way too long, blabbing and not even telling you my thoughts on the book. I really enjoyed it. I am not somebody who gravitates towards historical fiction because one, I feel like they're always sad and I usually try and stay away from sad books. And two, they just usually come off as kind of boring to me. I'm just drawn more to other genres of fiction. I find them to be more exciting, but I have now read 2 historical fictions. I definitely like The Nightingale more than the other one. I don't remember what the other one was. I feel like it really proved me wrong when it comes to my preconceived notions about historical fiction because the book was almost 600 pages and I feel like at no point was I bored. I was entertained and invested, and I really like the feeling of actually learning something while I'm reading. I was never really interested in history, and I feel like there were so many things that I learned about World War II that I just didn't know before reading this. So I really like that aspect of it because I don't get that with my other fiction books. With all that being said, I don't necessarily think that this is a 5-star book, but at the same time, it's a new genre, and usually when I rate a book 5 stars, it's because it gives me those 5-star feelings, which are usually pretty happy feelings, and I just know that this book would never give me that. So I don't really know how I would determine if it was a 5-star or not. Does that make sense to anybody? I'm somebody who has a hard time emotionally connecting to characters, and I know that I didn't feel all the emotions that a lot of people do when they read this, but that's okay. Everybody has their own experiences when you read. I think I just need to accept that I'm never going to be that person who is sobbing over a book. There were times at the end where I teared up, but at the end I actually cried. I was hoping that this book would make me cry, and it did. I don't know, I'm definitely rambling at this point. As of right now, I know that it's definitely over a 4-star. I'm leaning kind of towards a 4.5, but I'm gonna wait to the end of the video to really give my full thoughts. I have been talking for way too long, so I'm gonna finish getting ready and then I will pick out my next book. Quite a while since I picked up the camera and talked to y'all, so I wanted to give you an update. Ever since we got hit with the hurricane about a week ago, my apartment has just been kind of like a revolving door of people staying here, and because of that I have not been filming, and I also just have not been reading as much as I normally would. But anyways, as you saw, I started The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I started a couple days ago and I'm not super far. I am on page 80 and there's like 450 pages or something like that, but I just wanted to hop on here and tell you that so far I'm really enjoying it. Maybe you can tell by the tabs that I have on the cover. I have been annotating this book, which in and of itself that tells you a lot about the book because I rarely annotate. I knew going in that people rave about the writing in this book. I've heard from a bunch of people that it's really beautiful, and I started the audiobook while I was driving and decided that I definitely wanted to annotate. It's not like I'm doing a whole lot, but I'm just highlighting quotes that I really like. Just the way that she describes things I feel like is very beautiful, and I feel like she doesn't do it in too much detail to where I'm getting bored. So yeah, I am really enjoying it, but I do feel like it's gonna take me quite a while to get through because I'm annotating and I just haven't had much time to actually sit down and read more than like 20 pages at a time. I just know that it's gonna take a long time, but that's okay. I think it's totally fine to take my time and really enjoy this one. So yeah, that's really all I have an update for. like a mess because I obviously just finished this and I cried. I wasn't like sobbing, but I definitely think that's the most I've ever cried from a book. I mean, it's literally only the third book that's ever made me cry, but that was a lot of tears, I feel like. Definitely more than the Nightingale. Oh, she really got me with this. It took me 2 weeks to finish this book and it's currently really late at night, so I just feel like I definitely need a day to process my thoughts. But I just wanted to give you a quick update, and obviously I'm sure you saw me crying. So I just wanted to pop in and say, hey, I finished. I'll be back when I have my thoughts actually collected. Hi. It's 2 days since I finished Addie LaRue, and to be truthful, I don't really have very many updates. As far as my final thoughts on that book, I feel like I still need to give it some time to kind of simmer. My initial thoughts are that it's a fantastic book that I took way too long to read, and I wish I read it quicker. And at least right now, it is not feeling like the 5-star that I really wanted it to be, which is totally fine. It's definitely at least a 4.5, so I really enjoyed it. It's a great rating. Part of me feels like the book is maybe just a little bit too long, and then the other part of me is like, no, it's my fault. I took too long to read it. And for sure, I read it slower than I normally would because I think almost the entire 2 weeks that I was reading it, I had people staying with me for various reasons, and obviously if somebody is staying with me, I'm not going to be reading as much as I normally would. So I don't know, I feel like the timing maybe wasn't ideal. I feel like any book that I would have picked up during those 2 weeks just would have taken me a while. So I'm not really sure how much that part sabotaged my experience. But still overall, like, I had a really great experience. I really liked it. Obviously, I cried a lot. It was the most I've ever cried reading a book. So for now, my thoughts are that I really enjoyed it. I don't know what my rating is. And yesterday I took a break from reading, so today I am totally ready to jump into Magnolia Parks. I'm ready, but I'm also very nervous. I don't know if I've explained in this vlog yet what this book is about, but I've basically only ever heard people talk about it as like a British version of Gossip Girl, which is a show that I love. It's just about a bunch of really rich kids living in New York City, getting into a lot of drama, doing a bunch of like rich kid stuff that's so crazy. And pretty much every character is not a great person, but they all have their moments and you really are just rooting for them in the end, even though they're all doing terrible stuff. They're all like dating each other, their relationships get really messy. I'm sure there's cheating and all sorts of horrible stuff going on in Gossip Girl. It's very toxic, but I absolutely love that show, and people say that this is just like that in book form. So I'm hoping that I really love it, but I've heard that this is very much just focused on the relationships, which are obviously toxic. I think there's definitely cheating involved in these. They're very on again, off again, and I have a feeling that there's not actually a whole lot of plot going on, whereas in Gossip Girl there was always crazy stuff happening. It was not just about their relationships. So all of that is to say that I love Gossip Girl, but I'm trying not to have such high expectations for this one, just because I know it's not going to be quite the same. And also I'm kind of nervous because I don't know how I'm going to feel about reading a toxic relationship. I feel like watching it on TV is very different than reading it in a book, but I guess today is the day to find out what I think. People love, love, love this book. They are diehard for it, and then other people hate it because of everything I mentioned. So I'm really interested just to see which of those two camps I fall into. Okay, I'm only on chapter 7, page 64, but I wanted to hop on and give you some initial thoughts. So far, I'm liking it, and I feel like a big part of that is I'm enjoying her writing style. I feel like a lot of romance authors write in a much more like casual, conversational kind of way, and I feel like she's doing it in just a slightly more unique way, or maybe a way that just connects with me a little bit more. It's very conversational. We're getting a lot of our main characters just like inner monologue. We have a lot of run-on sentences, which are feeling very much like when I'm just thinking in my head and my thoughts are just going on forever. And I don't know, I don't feel like it's anything groundbreaking, but it just feels a little bit different from a traditional romance in the way that she's writing, and I kind of like it. I also did not know that it was going to be dual POV, so we get both BJ and Magnolia's point of views. They are the two main characters, obviously the love interests, and the dialogue that we're getting between the characters is really good, but I also am just really loving being inside their heads. I'm only like 10% in, so I have a lot to go, but I just wanted to hop on here and let you know how I'm feeling. Hopefully this continues to go down a good path.
So it's been a while since I finished Magnolia Parks. I've been sick for the past couple days and my voice still sounds bad, but it's actually a lot better than it was the past couple days. I have been putting off filming this last part, but I just have to get this video out. So I'm sorry that my voice probably is annoying, but it is what it is. I have to come on here and give you my thoughts about Magnolia Parks and my final ratings on all 3 books. I have never wanted the next book in a series as much as I did this one. As soon as I finished it, I was like, I need Daisy Hates. I need it right now. Give it to me. And I still have not picked it up yet, but I really want it. And I feel like normally when I start a series, I don't usually want to continue it right away. I'm usually like, that was good, but I'm ready to try something new. But no, I need the next book, which I feel like is a real testament to how much I really enjoyed this. Probably the first half, I was like, this is pretty good. I really enjoy her writing, but it's not anything special. And then I keep sneezing. My nose is probably gonna be so red. Up until the halfway point of this book, I feel like with all the past books that I've been reading, I definitely don't feel like I've been in a slump, but I've been in a mood where I want to read, but then at the end of every single chapter, I'm picking up my phone and wanting to scroll because I'm just not, I guess, that into the book, even though I want to be reading. But once I got to maybe the halfway point of this, I just could not put it down. The night before I finished it, I was reading for like a solid 3 hours straight and I never picked up my phone. I never stopped reading and I wanted to finish it. I had probably like 40 pages left, but it was 2 in the morning and I had to get up kind of early the next day. So I was like, I cannot continue. I have to go to bed, but I really desperately wanted to stay up until 3 a.m. to finish this, which is obviously just a really great sign. And I'm honestly just so happy that this book has pulled that out of me and made me feel that way. I loved the writing the entire time. I thought it was so interesting. Even though not a whole lot was happening plot-wise, at no point was I bored. And there were a lot of unique things, I feel like. Like Magnolia is really obsessed with fashion, so every time she sees someone, she's like dissecting their outfit and pointing out exactly what they're wearing, which was just fun. Like, I have no idea what any of these pieces are, but it's just so fun to see somebody have such an interest in that sort of thing and talk about it. Like, it just was interesting. I really loved her and BJ, and no matter how much they probably should not be together, I really want them to be. And I just cannot wait to continue and see what happens. The next book is Daisy Hates, which follows a different couple, but I know we're still gonna get Magnolia and BJ in there. From the little bits and pieces that we saw of Daisy, I'm definitely intrigued and very interested to just learn more about her and get her book. And I have an inkling that the plot is going to kind of ramp up in those books, that it's maybe going to be a little bit more than just the romance and like everyday life. I feel like we're gonna have more stuff happening after this first book. So if you can't tell, I really loved this and I'm honestly really shocked. I know I said that everybody loves it or hates it, but I kind of was feeling like I was gonna be in the middle and just be like, meh, it's good, but it's not great. I don't know what it is, it's just so addicting and I really cannot wait to get my grubby hands on the next book. Her writing is literally like she tapped right into my brain and she's just writing out exactly how I think. And it was so much fun. So since finishing this one, I've had a few days to really think about my rating for all 3 books and I was really conflicted. All 3 of these are very solid books. They were all so good. Like, I knew they were all gonna be at least a 4.5. If you can't tell, enjoyment-wise, Magnolia Parks is definitely my favorite. But if we're talking more objectively about quality, I know that these 2 are more quality books, so I felt bad rating Magnolia over these 2. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm not handing out a Pulitzer Prize. Like, this is just my rating based off of how I feel and it's not that serious. So after a lot of thought, I think I'm gonna give The Nightingale a 4.5. This was so good. It was very emotional. I'm not into historical fiction, but I did enjoy this. But for me, it doesn't feel like a 5-star, and that might just be because this isn't my preferred genre. And I have been very picky with 5 stars this year. I think I've only given out 1. And when comparing this to the other 2 books, this one definitely is just a tad bit lower on the rating scale. I'm glad that I finally read it and I feel confident now to go into more of her books because even though this was really long, I got through it pretty quickly and I feel like her writing... Excuse me, crying. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I feel like her writing was very easy to digest, so I'm looking forward to reading some more from her in the future. Then for Addie LaRue, I feel like I struggled to rate this one the most because immediately after finishing it, I was like, I know this isn't a 5-star, but it was phenomenal. I take it back. I think that I have to give this a 5-star. I have annotated the crap out of this book. I actually ran out of tabs, so I... Excuse me. I actually ran out of tabs, so I had to stop tabbing, but I have highlighted and underlined so much in this book, and I am never really a person that likes to annotate, but this really compelled me to do so, and I just loved it. Obviously, I cried my eyes out, and I never cry from books, so that alone I feel like just shows you how much I connected to the characters. Even though I might not have realized it in the moment, like, I really connected with this. I really felt for them. I just loved this so much. It's not my favorite book of all time. Like, I know I had hopes for it to be, which is so silly. Just the fact that I said I wanted it to be my favorite book just set it up to fail. But I am pleasantly surprised to say that I absolutely loved it. I would recommend this to anybody, and it was just so good. This one took me forever to read, but I'm so glad that I finally got to it. And I'm sure you guessed, Miss Magnolia Parks is also a 5-star. I am genuinely so surprised, but I just feel like I have to give it a 5. I just had such an amazing time, and I feel like this is the first book to just get me out of that habit of barely reading and just picking up my phone all the time. I feel like I didn't really notice until I got to this book how bad it was, that I just wasn't really reading much. And I feel like this just renewed my whole excitement for reading. I'm looking at my shelves and I'm so excited to start my next book. And you bet that the next time I'm at a bookstore, I will be picking up book 2 and it will consume me until it's finished. I'm honestly shocked. I did not really see myself being one of the people that loves this series, and from what I've heard, it only gets better from here, so like, I can't wait. Okay, that's enough. I feel like I've talked about this book for way too long. I'm sad that I never got around to babble in this video, but I just did not have enough time. But this was really fun, and I obviously enjoyed all the books, so maybe I'll do this video again, and maybe I'll start with babble. We'll just have to see. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!